Welcome back, and thank you very much for coming back. In this video I'm going to try to share with you why is it so important to defoliate your tomato plants, especially now in July
or as late as beginning of August.
But depending on your climate, probably July is going to be the time to do this. Now, what is defoliating the tomato? Think about defoliating tomatoes like pruning your orchard, pruning your apple tree, your plum trees, your cherry trees early in spring. Only this time we're doing it literally in the middle of the year, in the summertime. Some people understand defoliating the tomato as ripping all of the leaves off, and they do this when they have 1 or 2 or maximum 3 sets of fruits, in the obsession or desperation of making sure that those sets of fruits are going to get ripe, basically, and they're going to have something. And it's especially common in big operations, or like, you know, hydroponic, big greenhouses, commercial greenhouses, that they defoliate the whole plant to make sure that they get the production that they need. Well, I'm not advising you to do that, because that would basically kill the plant. It would end the term of the plant. And if you're working with predominantly indeterminate varieties like I am, I don't really like determinate varieties, because I'm not making a huge amount of tomato paste or tomato sauce. I prefer eating them, and I prefer eating them for as long as possible and enjoying fruits and vegetables in season to get all the benefits, the health benefits. And one of the health benefits of tomatoes is lycopene, which is essential to a healthy, functioning body and mind. But we're not talking about that.
What I am telling you, and we'll show you in a second in practical, how to do it, is that the way, or what I understand by defoliating tomatoes,
is to clear out about half of the plant, about half of the height of the plant. You want to rip everything off and leave those stems clear. Why do we do this? Well, first of all, some truth into the other camp that says defoliate everything, because that's what defoliating means, ripping everything apart. So number one, you want to help the plant focus on creating, or like on ripening and growing the existing fruit sets. So if you have, let's say, depending on the variety, if you have 2 or 3 fruit sets, for some people that's enough. So that works as well. By removing a specific amount of the leaves, the plant can focus all its energy, all its nutrients onto the fruit. But if you do it just halfway, you ensure the continuity of the plant. Just because it's July, it doesn't mean that you need to finish your tomato season. And people think about that. They say, oh, I'll get as much as I can, and that's it. After that, if it produces more flowers, more fruit on those flowers, it's not going to have enough time to mature until the end of the year, because maybe I have a short season or whatever. Well, I'm telling you that you can use green tomatoes as well. So you'll get your main crop, your main harvest of the ripe fruits. But then whatever doesn't have time or enough temperature, enough heat to ripen, and you end up with a glut of green tomatoes at the end of the season, that's no problem. You can pickle them like salt brine. You can make them into salsas. You can make them into all kind of jams and relishes and sauces. Green tomatoes are fantastic, and they have a specific delicious flavor that you can work with. You need to use your imagination and Google for 5 minutes, and you're gonna come up with so many recipes for green tomatoes that you're not going to have enough green tomatoes to apply them to all the recipes that are out there. And trust me, green tomato relish and green tomato salsa, there's something that you need to try. And if you haven't tried it before, just make this year the year when you're going to defoliate your tomatoes in such a way that you're going to encourage them to produce more fruit, instead of stagnating, shocking them, and stopping them from producing more fruit. So second would be to make sure, second reason for defoliating would be to ensure continuity, to stress the plant. I would say if you remove half of the leaves of a plant, like half of the height of a plant, it will send it into a mini shock.
The plant is going to be like, what the heck is happening? I'm losing my leaves. So then I need to grow in height, grow more, and produce more leaves, because I need leaves.
a common misconception is that you want to remove all the leaves to make sure that the plants get ripened and you can do your harvest. The thing is, if you want those fruits to be as healthy, as mature, as powerful, and as delicious as possible, you need the leaves, you need the solar panels, you know, on the plant, so that you create photosynthesis. Without photosynthesis, which happens through the leaves, you don't allow the plant to take the nutrients, the water from the soil. At least you don't allow it at optimal parameters to work properly, to put all of those nutrients and high density vitamins inside of the plant, inside of the fruit. So by just doing it halfway, you encourage the plant to grow, you encourage the plant to create new leaves, you encourage the plant to work part-time on growing more leaves and setting more fruits, and part-time on growing the existing fruits, because the plant says like,
okay, I got these babies, I just need them to get these babies to a specific age, to a specific maturity, so they set seeds. Once they set seeds, I know that my species is going to continue for next year, but at the same time I'm going to try to create even more.
Because think about like an oak tree. When an oak tree produces acorns, if it's a mature tree, it's a decently old tree, it's going to create millions of acorns in one season instead of, I don't know, 10, 15. Same with the tomatoes. You know, okay, I have 12 tomatoes on my main body, but why not produce more? If the weather is good, if there's food into the soil, if I'm getting the water that I need, I'll produce as much as I can until the season ends. Another reason for defoliating is to protect your tomato plants from disease. What do I mean by disease? Imagine that you're watering your plants, or imagine that you're having a long raining season, 1 week, 2 weeks. You know, I had 3 weeks of constant raining, which is good. You know, you don't want to curse the season, because Mother Nature knows what's best. But at the same time, if you have your tomatoes close to each other, or close enough to each other, which I do because I have limited space here in the garden, so I cannot just plant them 2 meters apart, for example. If you have them close by and there's not enough airflow and the leaves stay damp for extended periods of time, then fungal disease can develop. And once you have fungal disease on one, it's I don't want to say it's game over, but it's game over. I mean, last year that's exactly what happened. I got blight, and then it evolved into powdery mildew and so on, and then it extended to other crops. So you want to have good airflow. That's the third reason why we defoliate the tomato plants. Think about it like this: no matter how close they are on the top and how deep the foliage is, you have airflow on the bottom and you have airflow on the top, because there's nothing above them. So between the bottom and the top, they will dry up in time and give the plant the necessary strength as well to fight the disease on its own. If there's enough food into the soil, if you're not using, I mean, I'm not gonna even touch the synthetic part, but if there's enough feed in the soil and enough water into the soil, and the plant has enough leaves to create photosynthesis and basically work at its finest, work at its maximum power, then it has an immune system just like us. Maybe it's not blood, we don't understand everything, but plants work with biochemistry, which we don't, and we don't freaking understand. That's their language, that's their method of protection, that's their method of communication, that's their everything. But you need to leave some leaves on. So if there's anything that I'm trying to say here, is that when you defoliate your tomatoes, because that's a good practice, pruning is good. You prune your fruit trees because they would produce better, be healthier, and give you a better product. The same reason is why we defoliate. We shouldn't even call it defoliating, we should call it pruning the tomatoes. At the same time, you can prune the suckers, which I have a whole different video on tomato suckers and why I actually leave them on for as long as possible on the plant, and then root them up and have basically endless amount of tomato plants from my basic set of starts. In the springtime I start, let's say, with 50 plants, and then because of the suckers and how I handle the suckers, instead of demonizing them, I worship them. I have from 50 I can get to 200, maybe even 300 tomato plants in one season. So do what you want with the suckers, but you know, that's my take on it. So enough with the talk, enough with the theory. In the next segment I'll take a tomato bush, one of the biggest ones that I have, and I'll do a tutorial on how to defoliate without damaging the plant, without shocking the plant, and basically getting all the positives and none of the negatives. So join me now.